The Bank That Lived a Little. Barclays in the Age of the Very Free Market by Phillip Augar. Read by Jonathan Keeble. Part 1. The Rise and Fall of BZW, 1983 to 1997. Chapter 1. Lord Camoys' Dream, 1983. 29th of July, Ibiza. On a sweltering evening in July 1983, a battered Land Rover bumped round the coast road and stopped in San Antonio, on the west side of the island. The driver, a stocky middle-aged man wearing a bush shirt and crumpled chinos, mopped his brow and crossed into the cool interior of the Bar Don Quixote, a white stucco building on the corner of the street. The German barman greeted him warmly. Ralph Thomas Campion George Sherman Stoner, 7th Baron Camoys, Tom to his friends, was a regular. Camoys and his young family had been spending summer holidays at his mother-in-law's house in the nearby hamlet of Casa Galera since 1967. The clubbing crowds had not yet discovered Ibiza. Cheap travel, broadband, and mobile phones were still to come, and the island was a perfect retreat for those who knew about its picturesque charms. The previous day's English papers had just arrived. Sitting at his favourite corner table, Camoys ordered a glass of white wine. In the absence of the Financial Times, off the streets since the 1st of June because of industrial action, the Times was his main source of business news. The headline that day was, "Stock Exchange Reforms May End Legal Action," and the article below reported an agreement between the Stock Exchange and Margaret Thatcher's recently re-elected Conservative government. He lit a cigarette and read, "The government has said it would call off the legal action against the Stock Exchange in return for reforms which will alter the way stocks and shares are bought and sold in Britain." Faced with a government that disliked anti-competitive price agreements and the threat of a restrictive practices court case, the Exchange had dramatically agreed to abolish its tariff of fixed commissions on share dealing by the end of 1986. In the cosy world of bankers and brokers in which Camoys worked, this was sensational news, but neither he nor anyone else realized then that it would have bigger consequences for British society than any change in business practices since the Industrial Revolution 200 years before. This agreement, the blue touch paper that lit the explosion which became known as Big Bang, changed the City of London from a tired old lion into a roaring dragon. It breathed fire into the economy, but later burned it badly. In a quarter of a century, it transformed culture, values, and attitudes to money throughout the whole country. It fueled a housing boom, created unprecedented prosperity, but then blew it all away. It made governments' reputations before leaving them in ruins. Its heroes made millions, yet many ended up in disgrace. And the bank that Camoys worked for was at the heart of it all. Camoys was a modern English aristocrat. He was a distant descendant of King Charles II, but had neither the inclination nor the means to live a life of idleness. Educated at Eton and Balliol College, Oxford, with a keen brain but little money, at least by the standards of many of his class, he needed a career of his own, and banking ran in the family. His great-great-grandfather, Watts Sherman, had been a partner in a New York bank that in 1858 had taken on one John Pierpont Morgan as a junior banker. Watts Sherman quickly decided that the ambitious young man's risk appetite was too much for the firm, and suggested he find other employment. Disappointed but undeterred, J.P. Morgan moved on, returning later to recruit Sherman's finance partner. The bank he founded would come regularly in and out of the Barclays story over the period covered in this book. By the time Tom Camoys inherited the title in 1976 and bought Stoner Park, the crumbling family seat from his impoverished father's executors,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?